I started off this training week with low bar squats. As many of you know, most of the time I stick to high bar. But I've been having a lot of issues just getting to depth and just getting my hips and my hamstrings involved. So I decided to bring the bar a little lower, on top of my rear delts. The reason I haven't in the past is because I just have very bad shoulder mobility and upper back mobility. So, getting into position, as you can see here, I just end up being extremely bent over and just not a very efficient way to start the lift. So as you can see, depth wasn't so great. It was my first session back, so the hardest issue is really just getting the bar into position and holding it there. Wasn't really feeling anything in my legs most of the session, to be honest. This set, the 694, definitely have great bar speed on it. It's probably a couple of inches high, but you can definitely see the speed and the energy is there. Now this next set, this was my last set of the day. It was about 738 pounds, as you can see. I'm walking it out. You can see I'm very bent over, and I just cannot get the bar to stay in position. So I'm trying to stay still. I'm shaking a lot, as you can see, and the bar just started rolling down my back. So I decided to just rack it and, just end with that for low bar squats. There's really no reason to push it this early in the training cycle. So after that, I decided to do these the safety squat bar squats. And just gonna do them for like medium volume, just sets of 5 all the way through. What they help me with, actually, is kind of forcing me forward and forcing me to lean more and sit back. I know a lot of people kind of use it for the opposite reason, to help them be more upright in the squat, but I actually prefer to use them to kind of get me to actually lean forward a little more and get more comfortable with that, just so I can sit back more. So this was about 480. Depth was, right about parallel, maybe a little under, in that region, but these felt pretty comfortable. They put a lot of stress on your lower back. For me, specifically, legs, not really a big deal. I can push the weight, but they definitely strengthen my lower back. There's definitely some carryover to deadlifting as well. So here's my top set. It's about 550 pounds, 250 kilograms. Really wanted to just make sure I can hit 5 reps going all the way through these sets. So I was able to get the 5 reps. They look pretty clean, so I was happy with that. Now, just to let you guys know, moving forward, I've decided the first, 8 to 10 weeks or so of this training cycle, I'm just going to do alternate weeks where 1 week I squat heavy, 1 week I deadlift heavy, 1 week I squat, 1 week I deadlift. I've done that in the past a couple of times and just found that it helps substantially with recovery, whereas I don't really lose strength on either of the lifts. So probably do that until about, 8 to 10 weeks out from the competition, and then get back to doing both each week. So my second session of the week was bench press. In this, I was trying to, establish an IPF style bench press form, or at least, try to lift to IPF standard, which for the most part would mean flat feet, with your head down. So usually I'm way up on my toes, arching. My head will usually come up a little, not a lot, but it was definitely a challenge keeping my feet flat on the ground at all times and keeping my head down. So I'm getting ready to also do a single ply meet after the Boss of Bosses meet this summer. So with single ply, I am looking to do it to IPF standard, just because my main goal is to eventually get to the Super Cup of Titans, which is a big Russian single ply meet where they do judge the IPF standard. So the sooner I can get used to that, the better. So this is my first of 2 sets, overloading with the black slingshot. It was getting a little iffy, just, whenever you haven't used the slingshot in a while, it's a little difficult to find that groove, but once you do, you can usually, just get a lot more efficient with the reps going through. So even on this set, you'll see with the first rep, I was just a little out of it. I probably tucked a little too much with my elbows. Got stuck, a little sticking point, pressed it through, but then the next 4 reps were pretty quick and pretty clean. And that, I believe, is a PR, 45 by 5 with the black slingshot. So, strength is getting better. Lockout strength for sure is getting better. So I did decide, instead of doing an accessory leg day, I decided to actually squat again, just to kind of see where I can get this bar position. I figured going completely low bar may not be the best thing, but I did working down a little bit on my traps, with the goal of really just working on sitting back. Like every rep, every set, I just told myself, sit back, don't break at the knees first. And it seemed to help a lot. It made it a lot easier to get to depth, made my reps a lot cleaner. So I was happy with that. Also happened to widen my stance just a couple of inches, nothing crazy, but just widening my stance a little and pointing my toes forward, and it's helping a lot with just opening my hips. So in these sets, as well as the SSBs early in the week, I decided to just hit 5 reps going all the way through. You can see this is my top set at 683 pounds. I was able to hit these pretty clean. I actually thought I was only going to get like 3 or 4 coming into the set, but I was able to push for the 5, so hit a new PR with knee wraps for squats, 683 pounds by 5. So definitely happy with that. It's definitely great for this early in the training cycle. It's definitely implying a pretty good number for a wrapless squat if I do decide to go no wraps at Boss of Bosses. So here's a front view, which I need to do more of, just to see what I'm doing with my knees, particularly. Just making sure I'm forcing them out and sitting back. A lot of times, especially with a closer stance, people's knees will come in, which makes it, just that much more difficult to actually break depth and get low in the squat. So here's just one of my accessory lifts. I'll probably start adding more, at least showing like 2 or 3 of the accessory lifts I do a week. It's one of my favorite ones. It's called the Meadows Row. It's named after John Meadows. He's a pretty famous bodybuilder, probably more known for his coaching of other bodybuilders, but he's the guy who coined this. It's one of my favorite lifts, just because you can get a great range of motion with your back while still doing a decent amount of weight. So also I've been doing a lot of mobility. During this workout alone, I think it took me about an hour to even get to the squat bar. And then after that, I think after the workout, between rolling out my quads and, getting the lacrosse ball to dig into my hamstrings and all that, it's like another hour or so. But this is just one of the things I do just to kind of open up my chest and my shoulders. It helps a lot with my rotator cuffs, actually, for shoulders. This one I tend to do where I'm just doing like a nice static hold. It slowly just opens up my chest. Just because my shoulders do tend to get pinned forward a lot from doing a lot of bench pressing with probably not a lot of back accessory work. Over time, just your shoulders just get pinned more and more forward. So anytime you can do things to try to open up your chest again will help you substantially in your training. So this is just a hamstring stretch. I like to do it while I still have the pole on my shoulders, just because it makes it that much harder for you to bend your lower back and your upper back and kind of cheat the stretch. And this is just some very light, rotations in the midsection, just trying to loosen up my back and my hips. I usually try to stretch a little further each rotation. It's nothing major, it just helps me loosen up my hips and my midsection.